Hello everyone, Dave from Dave's Games here, giving you a follow-up on yesterday's vlog. As you all know, Tony convinced me to eat a pound of sugarless gummy bears. I wasn't sure what the repercussions of such an act would be until it was far too late. Some of you may have known and were laughing hysterically at what you knew was going to come later. To people like you, why didn't you warn me? Oh, you had already recorded the video. It was on YouTube for a day before I even watched it. No excuses. For those who have no idea where I'm going with this, I decided not to tell you my personal experiences, but to read those of others via reviews on Amazon.com. If you'd like, you could just say this is story time with Dave's Games once again. First up, Kristen E. Torek from Pennsylvania. Oh man, words cannot express what happened to me after eating these. The gummy bear cleanse. If you are someone that can tolerate this sugar substitute, enjoy. If you are like the dozens of people that tried my order, run. First of all, for taste, I would rate these a 5. So good. Soft, true to taste fruit flavors like the sugar variety, I was a happy camper. But, or should I say, not long after eating about 20 of these, all hell broke loose. I had a gastrointestinal experience like nothing I'd ever imagined. Cramps, sweating, bloating beyond my worst nightmare. I had food poisoning from some bad shellfish, and that was almost like a skip in the park compared to what was going on inside of me. Then came the, flatulence. Heavens to Murgatroyd. The sounds like trumpets calling the demons back to hell. The stench, like 1,000 rotten corpses vomited. I couldn't stand to stay in a room for fear of succumbing to my own odors. But wait, there's more. What came out of me felt like someone tried to funnel Niagara Falls through a coffee straw. I swear my sphincters were screaming. It felt like my delicate starfish was a gaping maw projectile vomiting a torrential flood of toxic waste. 100% liquid. Flammable liquid. Napalm. It was actually a bit humorous. For a nanosecond. As it was just beyond anything I could imagine possible. And it went on for hours. I felt violated when it was over, which I think might have been sometime in the early morning the next day. There was stuff coming out of me that I ate at my wedding in 2005. I had 5 pounds of these innocent-looking, delicious-tasting hell bears. So I told a friend what had happened to me. Thinking it had to be some type of sensitivity I had to the sugar substitute. And in spite of my warnings and graphic descriptions, she decided to take her chances and take them off my hands. Silly woman. All the same for her, and a phone call from her while on the toilet. Because you kinda end up living in the bathroom for a spell. Telling me she really wished she had listened. I think she was crying. Her sister was skeptical and suspected we were exaggerating. She took them to work since there was still about 99% of a 5-pound bag left. She works for a construction company, where there are builders, roofers, house painters, landscapers, etc. Lots of people who generally have limited access to toilets on a given day. I can't imagine where all those poor men and women pooped that day. I keep envisioning men on roofs crossing their legs and trying to decide if they can make it down the ladder, or if they should just jump. If you order these, best of luck to you. And please, don't post a video review during the aftershocks. P.S. When I ordered these, the warnings and disclaimers and legislees were not posted. I'm not a moron. Also, I'm not sure why so many people assume I'm a man. I am a woman. We poop too, of course. Our poop sparkles and smells like a walk in a meadow of wildflowers. Thanks for all the great comments. I've been enjoying reading them and so glad that the horror show that I experienced from snacking on these has at least made some people smile. Thank you, Christine. I couldn't have said it any better myself. The next one is by Gummy Poo. As a paramedic, it is often difficult to not only eat at work, but to eat relatively healthy. I developed a sweet tooth one day, and if there's one thing that I love, it's gummy snacks. Oh look, sugar-free gummy bears. I haven't had gummy bears since I was in middle school, I exclaimed to my partner, And the fact that they were sugar-free particularly made them healthy, right? Haha, wrong! I had downed a few of them on the way to the next call and had finished the bag by the early August afternoon. In the oppressive summer heat, we were dispatched to an unconscious person. As we traversed the city streets, I began to get cold chills and cramps despite the triple-digit temperatures. My abdomen was obviously bloated and the noises. Oh God, the noises. We arrived on scene and quickly loaded the critical patient into the ambulance. I grabbed a firefighter to ride with me in case the patient crashed before we reached the emergency room. In the back, the pressure was building against my dirty rosebud. I had to release something and thought that if I could just let some air out, I might not have to change my pants. Haha, wrong! I leaned to the side, putting pressure on one cheek to try to sneak it out without being noticed. I was able to get it off without soiling myself, but the smell, oh my God. The fireman wrinkled his nose as I wiped the sweat from my face. Does she have a GI bleed? A necrotic bowel? He asked. As soon as we hit the ER doors, I was off like a Kenyan on methamphetamine for the bathroom. I tried to use a hallway bathroom, but it was occupied. My only other option was a bathroom right outside the nurse's station. I mean, it was right outside the nurse's station. The door was a mere 5 feet from their desks. All those pretty young nurses. With no other option, I ran back, trying to keep my cheeks clenched. Little staccato bursts of sulfuric farts punctuated each yard as I raced for the finish line, hoping that I could keep my chocolate starfish clenched tight enough to stem the tide. I ripped the door open and somehow managed to drop my pants without undoing my belt. What erupted sounded like a steamroller driving through a bubble wrap factory. I knew it was audible from the nurse's station, and I nearly knocked a pretty blonde out of her chair during my mad dash. As a sense of relief from the pressure washed over me, so did the smell. It smelled like someone took a bag of dirty diapers, filled it with rotten body parts, and let it sit in the sun for 2 weeks. I sat there, petrified, but also doubled over with the sort of cramps that make one pray for death. Tanya, what's that smell? Came a voice from the outside door. I knew there was no escaping with my dignity intact. I sent a text to my partner from the bathroom, telling her I was sick and to let me know when she was ready to leave. When she replied, I dashed from the bathroom back to the ambulance. I gotta go home, I'm sick, I told her. We started back for the station and were a few miles away when we witnessed a car wreck. The kind of car wreck where you know someone is injured, and it's hard to sneak past if you're in an enormous truck that says ambulance. We had more units responding, and if I could just keep from sharding, I'd be okay. I stepped out of the truck, cramping and sweaty, and I knew I was over my head. My partner walked to one car and I climbed into the back of the ambulance. I looked around, desperate for relief. I spotted the biohazard trash can. I locked the doors and squatted over the can. It was small and I knew I couldn't put my weight on it without breaking it. Fleetingly, I considered the wisdom of this decision. But by then, the floodgates of my rusty sheriff's badge had opened and I sprayed pure fecal evil into that can. Now let me say that ambulances and all parts and equipment on them are built by the lowest bidder. This includes the locks on the doors. Attempting to retrieve a piece of equipment, my partner tried the door. Thinking the lock was just stuck, she pulled on the handle hard. The mechanism broke, and we locked eyes as I unleashed another volley of pure, concentrated gummy death that sounded like 2 events happening at once. The sound of wet denim ripping, and like trying to burp with a mouth full of pudding. Luckily, she didn't see my sausage and manberries as I was cupping them in one hand to keep them from being sprayed with poo mist. I'm sorry, I'm so sick. Shut the door! I screamed. The door slammed and I managed to find an extra sheet, which I cut up and wiped with. Now, the next question, what was I supposed to do with a red plastic trash can full of steaming excrement that had the consistency of watered down pancake batter? I triple bagged it and placed it outside in a spare compartment. We blissfully made it back and I was able to make it home, stopping only twice more to defile public restrooms. My partner never worked with me again, and the nurses at the ER still haven't forgiven me for the bathroom. Thanks, Haribo. What a wonderful story. Up next is Internal Armageddon by Britain Cobal. It was a warm, sunny Florida morning at our used car dealership. Me and my partner Terry Bruce, Ryan for short, were sitting around talking when in came the UPS man, who was bearing a 5-pound bag of Haribo sugar-free. We had ordered these as a gift to one of our hard-working employees, Preston Tucker. He flirts with diabetes, so the Haribo sugar-frees were the hands-down best choice for a little token of our appreciation for his hard work. Preston is a very sweet, loyal employee who always enjoys treats. Once we presented the man with the large bag of Haribos, the smile on his face was bigger than a fully loaded Ford Expedition. The man became giddy with excitement and immediately requested a break to begin consuming the Haribos. We quickly agreed to the request, and Preston found a seat and began ingesting what was supposed to be a delightful treat. He loved them. Very tasty, very addicting. This is probably why the man downed 35 to 40% of the bag in the initial sitting. Preston thanked us for the tasty treat and returned to work. But not but 30 minutes later, I glanced out the window to see Preston at full sprint across the car lot with the most god-awful look on his face. By looking at his face at that very moment in time, you would have thought that his firstborn was about to be run over by a casino bus filled with senior citizens going to play penny slots. As he ran across the lot, his face went from terror to pure, unfettered carnage. About halfway to the office, Preston began to slow, his legs starting to deform a bit. He immediately went to pigeon-toed as he began to collapse to the ground. It was clear that his body was tensing up. My partner and I immediately ran out to assist the ailing man. When we arrived at his side, he had broken into cold sweat and sounded something like a beached whale. Oh my god, that's awful. My partner and I were then hit with brute force by the most god-awful, godless smell you could ever imagine. The man had exploded in his pants, a blast that would have made Hiroshima look like child's play. God, that's even worse. In a bid to keep from passing out and probably becoming brain dead, we left the white male's side and retreated to safety. After the initial blast, Preston made it to the office, slamming the bathroom door. That's when the worst noises and smells I've ever encountered ensued. I felt as though we were poor goat herders, hiding in our adobe mud huts in Baghdad during Operation Shock and Awe. Bombs falling all around us. No hope, no way out. We could hear our poor Preston over the blasts. And trust me when I say none of us will ever forget it. The poor man's insides being tossed around like a freshly prepared garden salad. The man emerged from the bathroom looking like he had just made it past Nazi lines in Normandy. Still, a pure terror in his eyes. Preston survived, but by a thread. I believe part of Preston's soul was expelled with those Haribo sugar-free gummy bears that day. I don't believe he will ever be the same man he once was. How could we expect him to be? Well, now you all have an idea of what the hell I've been through the last day and a half. Yeah, this has been just fantastic. I hope you guys enjoyed this Dave's Games read-along or reading day. I don't know what the hell to call this. I hope you enjoyed it, because what these guys have been through is virtually the same as what I've been through, and as you can tell, it wasn't very pleasant, though this is a much more colorful language than I would personally use, but that's what makes it so funny. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please send a message to Tony saying either one of two things. One, that he's an asshole, which he is, or two, a pranking genius, which he also is. So, Tony, to you, hope you had your laugh. Everyone else, hope you enjoyed the video, and please come back and watch more videos of Dave's Games. Please like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!